I just received a huge inside update on the future of Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola, whether or not he will actually enter the transfer portal after it's just announced the Huskers have fired his uncle Donovan Raiola effective immediately. So in today's video, I'm going to share everything that I know, what's been going on behind the scenes with Dylan, with his family, his dad, his uncle. Will he actually leave the program and enter the portal, and everything else you need to know. So really quick, this is a loaded inside update. Hit that like button if you're fired up. And also, it has been a busy weekend, and it's about to get busier with the transfer portal, with the coaching carousel, and this is the only channel on Nebraska YouTube that posts daily content talking about stuff just like this. So if you want to stay in tune with Huskers this offseason, it's no brainer. Take 2 seconds, join the family. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. But without further ado, we have a lot to talk about. It was just announced that Nebraska has fired the uncle of Dylan Raiola, Donovan Raiola, effective immediately as the Huskers offensive line coach. He will no longer be in Lincoln. And with that being said, ever since that announcement, everybody has been asking, what does this mean for the future of Dylan? Will he actually enter the transfer portal? Are the rumors true? So let's start off with the facts, because there are a lot of rumors. There's a lot of speculation. Let's start off with what we know. Everybody has been asking me over these past couple weeks with all the Dylan rumors, with Dayton Raiola decommitting. Well, if both of those players leave Nebraska, is Donovan going to be the last domino to fall? Will Matt Rhule finally have the stones to make a change there? And I told you guys in last week's update, Donovan's not the last domino. He was the first domino. He's the reason why all this began. He's the reason why Dayton decommitted. He's the reason why there's some rumors around Dylan. Because it was very clear going into November after the USC ball game that Donovan was not going to be in Lincoln for too much longer. And that was seen because Donovan Raiola was telling multiple people he expected to get fired. It was told that his wife was telling her friends, some people around the program, that they were expecting to move after December. That, again, it was very clear with Matt Rhule and Donovan Raiola that relationship has been souring for some time now, that Matt Rhule is not happy with the offensive line performance. And there's a reason why Nebraska moved so quickly when Donovan was fired yesterday. They hired an offensive line coach within 1 hour. Is because they've been working behind the scenes over the past week. They were interviewing multiple coaches, whether that was John Garrison, whether that was Jeep Wade, a couple other names. So again, quietly behind the scenes, this move has been pretty much finalized for a long time now, and that's why they moved as quickly as they did. So Donovan was the reason why all of this began. That's the reason why Dayton decommitted. That's the reason why there's some rumors around Dylan and why his future is unknown. So I want to clear that up. We also know that Dylan's father, Dominic Raiola, has not been happy for some time now, particularly after the UCLA ball game, was not happy with TJ Lateef's performance, was not happy with how the offense looked with TJ, how well TJ played, with the fan base kind of rooting for TJ more than they rooted for Dylan, with the fan base kind of turning on the Raiola family. We know that, again, Dominic has not been very happy with the development that Dylan's been getting. He hasn't progressed as much as he thought he was going to. We know that right now there is a money dispute, that as it stands, Dylan Raiola is getting paid $3.5 million, and Nebraska really is not wanting to budge on that. They're paying him a lot of money, but they're not willing to pay him more. They're not willing to pay him $5 million, $6 million, just because some other teams are offering that. They're going to pay him what he's worth. And while Nebraska, they want Dylan to come back, they've made that abundantly clear. They're not going to spend money just to be reckless, okay? They've never done that with any prospect ever. They're not going to make an exception for Dylan. So that's been a huge issue. We know that as it stands, Dylan Raiola has been getting shopped around by his agent, by his family. There's a reason why the rumors have been going for some time now, and the Raiola family has never shut it down, right? Last year, there were rumors going on, but the Raiola family shot down within the first day. This year, the rumors have been going on for weeks, and nobody has shot it down because the rumors are true, because they have been shopping them around to Miami. We know that. We know they've been shopping around to Texas Tech. We know they've been shopping around to Oregon. Okay, and that's the expectation. That's college football nowadays. It happens with pretty much every quarterback worth anything. But we know that for a fact. There's a reason why he's not even told. The players are not even told. The coaching staff whether or not he's returning. And Matt Rhule made that abundantly clear in his press conference the other day. We also know that Dylan Raiola, as it stands, is currently back home in Buford, Georgia, that he was seen at the airport a couple of days ago with 6 bags. People were seeing him also clean out his apartment, so just take that for what it's worth. Usually when you're going home for a weekend, you don't take 6 or 7 bags, right? He had a lot. He had a lot. So that we know that for a fact. We also know that the players right now, nobody knows. Even Emmett Johnson doesn't know what Dylan Raiola's future looks like. A lot of people expect him not to be here next year, but again, nobody knows for a fact. Nobody has the inside scoop within that building because Dylan Raiola himself has not made up his mind. And also, the last thing we know is that the coaching staff is preparing for any outcome. The coaching staff is preparing for Dylan Raiola to enter the portal, and they're going to have some backup options in the portal to go after just in case he were to leave. So those are the facts. That brings us to the update. What's been going on, of course, especially after it was just announced that Donovan Raiola has been fired effective immediately. In my opinion, This is the nail in the coffin. I mean, this is it, right? And I told you guys a couple days ago, the only way Dillon was to stay is if Donovan somehow was retained. That's the only way, because it's a family affair. And you could argue a lot of things about Donovan. You could argue that he has actively sabotaged the career of Dillon. And I would agree with you. I would agree with you that he's sabotaged, his nephew's career with how bad the offensive line's been. Dillon hasn't been able to develop. However, the only reason Dillon came here in the first place was because of Donovan. Okay, the only reason he flipped to us on Sunday is because his uncle was on the coaching staff. The only reason why Donovan was even hired in the first place is to get Dillon here. The only reason Donovan was not fired last offseason is because if he was fired, the family made it very abundantly clear that Dillon Raiola would enter the portal. So there's been nepotism running wild in this university for over 4 years now, even before Dillon was committed here. Again, the only reason why Donovan was even employed was because of Dillon in the first place. So regardless, you could argue that he's, kind of hurt Dillon's career. They're very tight. So that's number one. Number two, again, we know that Dillon Raiola does not want a quarterback battle. Not only he doesn't want a quarterback battle, but his family doesn't want that. Okay, and they will leave if they have a quarterback battle. And Matt Rule, you could argue Dillon's a better quarterback than TJ. I'm not going to dispute that. But I think we all agree, in order to bring the best out of Dillon, we need a quarterback battle. If you go into next year just handing the job to Dillon, that doesn't do anybody any good, right? It doesn't do Dillon any good, and Dillon doesn't deserve that. Dillon did not play very well. So Matt Rule is being pressured into a quarterback battle. Dane is absolutely going to have a quarterback battle, and Dillon doesn't want that. That's part of the reason why Dillon wants to leave. And also, again, we know that the Raiola deep state, it's pretty much gone. Dayton's gone. Donovan's gone. Dominic really doesn't have too many ties to the university anymore. The only guy left is Dillon, and we know that family moves in packs. So here's a wrinkle to the situation with Donovan being fired. The only wrinkle and the only way I think Dillon comes back is that, and I know this for a fact, so take my word when I say this, Dillon loves Nebraska to this very day. Dillon really doesn't want to leave. Dillon loves Nebraska. He loves his fan base. He loves his teammates, and he loves Matt Rule. So I believe in Dillon's heart, he really doesn't want to leave. But like we've talked about in the past, when it comes to Emmett Johnson, when it comes to other players, it's not about your heart anymore. It's about your mind. It's about making a true business decision for your development, for your future, for the NFL. And Dillon Raiola, while his heart maybe is still here, it likely, you could argue, to his best interest to leave. You could argue that, to get developed somewhere else in a better program, because he's definitely getting offers at other programs. But here's the second wrinkle, and this is what we learned just a couple hours ago. While Dillon's family is shopping him around to some big-time schools and they are getting offers, they're not getting the price tag they want. And that's why a couple days ago, I compared it to a Nico Amalavia situation 2.0. Okay, the Nico was a little bit more public, but we know that Nico, he offered a lot of money from Tennessee. They weren't willing to budge to enter the portal. It's the same deal with Nebraska. Okay, where Dillon wants Nebraska to pay him more, or at least I don't want to blame Dillon. The family wants to get paid more. Nebraska's not budging. He's saying, no, I'm going to go elsewhere. I'm going to go, try to get some money elsewhere. And these other schools aren't offering as much as they want either. So he's in a very tough situation. Where in Nico's situation, he couldn't come back because he already entered the portal. But Dillon, the reason why he hasn't entered the portal just yet is because he learned from Nico. And he said, okay, I want the option to come back to Nebraska if these schools aren't willing to give me what I want. So you could have whatever opinion you want about that. I'm not going to tell you what to believe, and I can tell you if you're in favor of Dillon, not in favor, but just know Dillon's kind of playing us a little bit. At least the family's playing us a little bit. They're shopping around. They're only going to leave if they get the offer they want. And if they don't get the offer they want, they're going to come back to Nebraska for 3.5. So that's what it is. Now, again, as it stands, I still do believe that Dillon Raiola will enter the portal. Again, it'll be very evident on Monday, tomorrow, when, of course, bowl practice starts, whether or not he's going to be back in Lincoln. From the players that I've talked to over these past couple of days, they don't expect him to be back. So we'll see if Dillon returns. I don't think he will. I think he's going to be gone for the entire semester. I don't know if he comes back, because, again, he was seen moving out of his apartment, right? And people will say, well, and this is the big question for you guys. People will say, well, is this a good thing if Dillon Raiola were to leave? And I was talking with somebody, a part of the TJ Lateef camp the other day. You guys probably already know who that is. And we were talking about, obviously, the future of this team, this, that, and the third. And the person I was talking to reminded me, they said, Wilson, I hope you know that this is not TJ Lateef's team. This isn't Jalen Gramstad's team. This is not Matt Rule's team. This is not Marcus Davila's team. This is Dillon Raiola's team. So regardless of what your opinion is on Dillon, just know if you were to enter the portal, there are some guys who are going to leave with him. And they might not follow him, but they might just enter the portal. Because the only reason why some guys came here is because they play with great quarterback play. And Jacory Barney, you could argue, is in that boat. Emmett Johnson, the only reason why he came back is because he was great friends with Dillon Raiola along with Dana Holgerson. You could argue Isaiah Mozee in that boat. You could argue, fill in the blank. There's a lot of players. Dane, the only reason why he came here is because of Dillon. Isaiah Hunter, same deal. Some players on defense only came here because of Dillon. So people will say, it's a good thing to get rid of the Raiola deep state. I mean, there's some pros and cons, but just know this is Raiola's team. It has always been. This is the team that he constructed. His family constructed, and he did it as well. Also, people will say, well, Wilson, this might be a good thing for Dylan Raiola to leave because we're paying him $3 million. That means we can use that $3 million on the trenches, on the offensive line, on the defensive line. Well, that's also not going to be the case, because if Dylan were to leave, we're going to pay at least some of that money to get a quarterback in the portal, because that's the expectation. Nebraska's already been shopping around a little bit. They're not currently going after a quarterback transfer because Dylan still might come back. But if Dylan were to leave, they have options. And to get any quality quarterback in the portal, at the very minimum, you need to spend $1 million at the very minimum. So it's not like we're going to spend all that $3 million on the trenches. If anything, we're only going to spend maybe $500,000 on the trenches. Okay, it's not like we're opening up a lot of money. Okay, that's a misconception. And again, I want to make this very clear as well. When Dylan leaves, again, nothing's in guarantees, right? College football is very unpredictable. Nebraska is unpredictable. But if Dylan Raiola were to leave, which I believe is the expectation, Nebraska's not going to get a world beater quarterback transfer. I know some people are throwing out, Lenore Sellers, Sam Levitt, a couple other big time names. Like, if Nebraska gets a quarterback transfer, it's not going to be a big time name. It's going to be somebody who is very cheap, right? Because we don't want a big name quarterback. We want somebody to come in here, compete with TJ. And if TJ wins that battle, that's great. If the transfer wins the battle, that's great. But we just want competition. And we're not going to go get a bona fide guy, because in that case, there's no reason why we would have let Dylan walk in the first place. So I want to make that very clear, because I know a lot of people are saying, well, I want to go get Sam Levitt. That's just not happening. I think we're going to get a high-quality FCS player. We might get a group of 5 player, or we might get somebody who's currently a backup at like a really big-time school. I heard of Michael Van Buren. That's one I've heard some smoke around. Michael Van Buren, their current backup over there at LSU. So to wrap all this up, again, from the people I've talked to, the players I've talked to, some people inside that building, the expectation is Dylan Raiola is going to leave. Now, again, nobody knows anything for a fact, right? Again, they're keeping this very close to the vest. Even Matt Rhule doesn't know. I think some people think Matt Rhule knows. Even Matt Rhule doesn't know. He doesn't. And take my word when I tell you that. Matt Rhule does not know. There's a reason why he said what he said at the press conference the other day. Okay, he said he wants to have Dylan Raiola comes back, but he's never going to talk about somebody's future because he does not know. If he knew, he would have said so. So the only thing I'll say about this is I'm glad that, if Dylan were to leave, I think everybody can have your opinion about Dylan. I think we all can agree on this. We're tired of the drama. We're tired of the drama around the family. We're tired about Donovan. We're tired of Dane. We're tired of, the dad going with all this, the tampering, the money, taking advantage of the university. We're tired of the speculation. And you can feel like Dylan's a better quarterback than TJ, but TJ does not come with all the baggage. TJ is a humble kid who does not go out party every night, doesn't, he's not doing this, that. He doesn't have a crazy big ego. He's somebody who's humble, who's confident, who's a silent killer, and he's always trying to get better. And you could argue Mark Steven's the same way. You could argue the other quarterbacks the same way. I know for a fact my guy Trey Taylor's the same way. So while I agree there's a lot of pros and cons that come with Dylan leaving, I think one thing we can all agree on is that if Dylan Raiola were to leave, which is the expectation, I think we'll get clarity soon. Drama will finally be gone. We'll be gone from the program, at least in a little bit, right? No, there's never going to be complete drama away from the program. There's always drama at Nebraska, but this type of drama, the quarterback drama, will finally be gone. So again, I think we'll get clarity on Monday at some point this week. I think it'll happen pretty quickly, to be honest with you. But I will tell you this, the longer this goes on, the longer I do like Dylan's odds to come back. So all right, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know what you're thinking. Hey, if you made this far, hit that like button and subscribe. As always, folks, go be red, go Matt Rhule, and I'll see you in the next one.